Hey there. Now, what do volcanoes, the International Monetary Fund, and central bank issued digital currencies all have in common? Oddly, quite a bit. So today I'm sharing a segment of a podcast I did recently with Campbell Pentney, a specialist tax lawyer working with Belly Gully here in New Zealand, who has a keen interest in blockchain technology and cryptocurrency, with a focus on the various tax and legal issues that arise from this sector. Now, we're seeing the early signs of significant transformation brewing in the global financial system. But, like any change that starts off small and ends with all at once, I fear these changes won't always be met with approval by central banks and tax departments worldwide. Now, as an everyday investor myself who holds a small amount of cryptocurrency, I'm keen to understand what the new world may look like where these assets could potentially be worth much more than what they are today. Now, none of today should be taken as financial advice of any sort, so please do your own due diligence. I hope that you find this interesting. If you want to check out the full episode of this, be sure to subscribe to the NZ Everyday Investor on your favorite podcast player or Spotify. Let's make a start. Countries now adopting Bitcoin as legal tender. Let's start maybe there with El Salvador. That's so recent.
El Salvador really jumped out at people by surprise. So El Salvador, interestingly, has no currency of its own. It uses the US dollar, but it has no local currency. So El Salvador has decided that it will make Bitcoin legal tender. And more than that, if you're a merchant in El Salvador, you will need to accept, with technology, Bitcoin when people make transactions with you. You won't be forced to keep the Bitcoin. You will have the option to be able to sell your Bitcoin to the government immediately.
Right.
So maybe there's a button you push. Do you want the Bitcoin? Do you want the USD at that point? And you have that choice as to what you do. And that's very interesting because now, in theory, you'll have an economy where people all have a wallet. So I think every person in El Salvador can open a wallet and will have $30 USD of Bitcoin at that point. They won't, of course, issue Bitcoin because they can't do that. But apparently they will have mining operations using geothermal energy from volcanoes,
which is the strangest thing, right?
To create Bitcoin. So they will be issuing their own Bitcoin, and it's crazy. Like apparently the IMF have a rule that says that they must accept debt repayment in the legal tender of the country.
So now the IMF is receiving
must accept Bitcoin for payment of debt. So, and you can see it's very, very controversial, but it's very interesting. It's very experimental. They're moving at a hugely fast pace.
And what have they got to lose, I suspect, is part of the thinking, right?
That's right. So it's very, very interesting. And one funny thought is whether or not the fact that now it's legal tender in El Salvador means that around the world, every other country has to update their definition of foreign currency for tax and accounting purposes because typically what you look at too is does another country use this as legal tender? That makes it foreign currency.
So Bitcoin
among
is Bitcoin
other
a foreign
things,
currency.
right? So and now we have moves by other countries as well in South America. They might do that also. So that's a very, very unusual but interesting first step, and we've not seen anything like that before.
It's like the Trojan horse, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like we should have shut this down ages ago.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But now that it's out there,
yep.
We've just got to go alongside with it and just see where it goes. But it's basically infecting the worldwide monetary system.
And then you have countries. Well, we had last year and this year we had companies converting money treasury stock into Bitcoin because they're worried about the devaluation through money printing.
Correct.
And now do we see that again? Tonga has made indications they might do that. They have a $700 million USD fund that they describe, or one of their people described as a melting ice cube. Right.
They probably just stole that from Michael Saylor, eh?
Yeah. So that's really interesting. So that's the first stage. A country that's issuing, or not issuing, but has Bitcoin or a digital currency as its own legal tender. And then, of course, we move to phase two, which is where you have the central bank digital currencies.
Cool. Now talk to me about that because this is very interesting. It's something that I know that the Reserve Bank of New Zealand, I believe it's out there that they are interested in it, in exploring and learning about it. Do you want to just maybe give me a rough example on how it works for the countries that have actually implemented it? Because there are a couple, right?
It is a couple, but I mean, we're looking at the Bahamas has the sand dollar, Venezuela had the petro that seems to have vanished. Probably the biggest example is China, which hasn't launched it, but is very close. They have pilots. They are adopting sort of areas where they were using a currency, paying people in that currency in that particular zone. So a real test net for that purpose.
Okay.
And I mean, they're an evolution of money as we know it. They use similar technology to Bitcoin, although they may not be blockchain based. And interestingly, in China, people say, well, what's the difference? Because in China, most payments are already electronic.
Yeah.
Right. You use WePay or Alipay and so on. The difference is here, though, When you do that, that's through a third-party intermediary like a bank. When you have a digital currency, it's like Bitcoin in the sense that you control that money. Well, control's a debatable term, but you have possession of that money. You can send it 24/7 to anyone in the world again, assuming no censorship of that transfer, and there is no banking authority in the way. So that's really what it does. And the central bank, instead of issuing loans to banks, which creates new money supply, will be issuing currency directly from itself. And it may use blockchain, it may use a similar technology, but
called
some
what?
kind
Distributed ledger
of
technology,
exactly
right?
DLT technology will be what they use
Right.
In some other way, and the key will be security and sort of the speed and ability to access that network.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That has a lot of interesting properties that comes with it, because now we have a currency which is programmable. It's smart money,
Yep.
rather than just analog dollars that contain purchasing power.
Yep.
We now have money which can be programmed to basically calculate tax at point of use, right?
Exactly. So you could have GST paid when you make a transaction with a supplier. Typically, the supplier keeps the GST until they pay it to the ID. You can now have that paid directly to the ID. We have withholding taxes where money is deducted and again paid to the ID. Payroll taxes, all of that could be paid automatically through a smart contract. You could have a new tax, like with Bitcoin. When you have a Bitcoin transaction, you pay a small fee. Very small fee. People don't mind that. You could have that as well as part of the network, put into every transaction,
Right.
automatically deducting a very tiny fee,
Right.
and that all builds up over time. And maybe that could be a way to replace, say, income tax, or to be able to deal with other areas where we're receiving less money.
Thinking ahead in some sort of dystopian future, perhaps, but let's say that we're all receiving some sort of universal basic income through a central bank issued digital currency, and we get our $1,000 a week or
Yeah.
$1,000 a month or whatever it is. But I go out there and I have assets already, because that's all on the blockchain now,
Yep.
let's say in the future. And it's now going to cost me probably 3 times as much to fill up my car with petrol versus somebody with lower assets. Do you kind of see that it will be used in a variety of ways, including like means testing and stuff like that?
So like one example they have is of a stimulus, helicopter money. So the idea is you could airdrop, say it could be $1,000 or $100 to the community, and you could do it in a way whereby the wallet, you know who has each wallet, so you can control it by way of demographics, but also you can control it as to where you spend it. And if it's spent in the wrong place or it isn't spent at all, it then gets removed or deducted at a later point in time. And you can then monitor that and see what people are doing. You can have China could be able to use its digital yuan to calculate, for example, the cost of carrots in a northeast province, in real time, and adjust protocols and prices as they do that.
That's right.
So it's information as to what people are doing. And of course, when it comes to general taxation, you can't hide from the government if you have your currency stored in a wallet that they control and in theory can monitor. And then the question is, what do you do about cash, and what do you do about the existing money systems we have? Because I think China has found that people don't really want to use the yuan if it's free, the digital yuan, that is.
Right.
If it's free and they get it, they'll spend it. But
Right.
if they don't, then what is the incentive for them to be able to use that when they have Alipay, they have WeChat Pay, they have other systems in place that they can already use?
Right. So do you see that the entry point of CBDCs will probably be brought in from the point of view of like say welfare payments to start with? And that's just
That could be something like that. That's equivalent of the welfare card, right? So that's one idea they would do it. I think you would probably come in, that's right, with sort of limited use cases that you put in, and you introduce almost as a carrot for people to want to be able to use it, because it would be a very difficult political hot potato to be able to say, look, here is a new currency, it's Big Brother, surrender your cash at the local bank, your local bank, and you'll receive the Kiwi coin or whatever we want to call it, right?
Yeah.
And there will be people that don't understand what this is. They think it's a scam, or they think it's like Bitcoin,
Yeah.
or people that just don't have a smartphone.
Yeah.
And how do you deal with that? I mean,
Yeah.
that's the entry point immediately.
I find that really interesting, because it's like when you look at the current system, to encourage savers to save, to encourage people to spend that savings, the interest rate lever is pulled. It's a pretty blunt instrument, and it's not very scientific. With programmable money, let's say it expires in 30 days.
Yep.
This portion of your wallet will expire in 30 days. You're going to spend it.
Now, the hard part is how does it sit alongside cash, but also how does it sit alongside crypto assets? Because again, if your money expires in 30 days if you don't spend it, can you find a way to be able to offload it to someone else on their behalf? And they say, hey, I've got some Bitcoin or some stable coins, would you like that instead? And bear in mind, we haven't talked about the stable coins that are issued by private companies like Tether or US Circle or Paxos, where they have similar mechanisms. They are cryptocurrencies, but they are pegged to the US dollar or another asset like gold. They can be used in the same way, but they don't have any limitations. You have generally privacy.
Yes.
And so how will they work alongside a CBDC? Again, you might feel like, well, I'd rather use this because it's not monitored.
Because privacy is important, and we haven't really touched on privacy, but that's one of the aspects of any democratic society. And when we go down this path, say goodbye to a little bit more privacy.
Yeah.
But I guess it's also a game of chess or a game of chicken, or it's at the very least it's some form of game theory where if you make it easier to leak your fiat currency into a digital realm where the rules are entirely different, is that really a smart strategic move for any central bank?
Yeah, I mean, you could find that the friction goes away because suddenly people find they have a wallet, and there will be, Apple wallets that allow you to very, very easily transact with currencies in the same way that Robinhood allows you to transact with crypto and shares. And if you have that, suddenly it becomes, in a blink of an eye, you can convert your digital NZD or digital yuan into another currency.
Yes.
So I'm going to pick the currency that I think is doing really, really well. And so currently we're seeing all these sort of day traders, amateurs buying GameStop shares or Bitcoin or Dogecoin. Maybe now they become amateur foreign currency traders because I'll have my NZD in the euro tonight because I heard online that it'll go up. And then you say, well, look, this wallet lets me transact into Bitcoin or shares. And suddenly my money isn't really money anymore. It's a digital asset which can be converted and changed into anything I want in the blink of an eye, at the touch of a button, for a very, very low fee.
Yeah. Cool. Now that's all we have time for today. So remember, if you'd like to listen to the full podcast episode, be sure to check out the NZ Everyday Investor on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, if you enjoyed these shorter segments I'm putting out now, be sure to give us a like and a subscribe for more of this sort of stuff. Thanks for watching.